My name is Elias. I come from a family of six: my parents, myself, my two younger brothers, and my little sister. We've always been poor. Since my younger siblings were born, my parents have had to work tirelessly, regardless of whether it's a weekend or a holiday. In their stead, I took care of my younger siblings and did the household chores. I was told by my parents that they didn't have enough money to send me to high school. But seeing my parents work their backs off, I decided that I would start working as soon as I graduated from middle school. So, instead of going to high school, I joined my current company right after graduating from middle school. I've been working as a construction worker ever since. It's a relatively large construction company in our town. The job posting for construction workers said no experience or specific educational background or age required if you are motivated, which is why I applied. A few days after I submitted my application, I was contacted for an interview. Honestly, I was skeptical whether they would hire someone like me who had only completed middle school. The interview included the president of the company, a man named Finn. I had never expected the president to be present, and the other applicants were also unable to hide their nervousness. When it was my turn, I was asked why I wanted to join the company. I answered honestly, my family doesn't have money, and I couldn't go to high school. Even now, my parents are gritting their teeth and working hard just to feed my brothers. I want to work to alleviate the household's financial burden a bit and provide my parents and brothers with delicious food. The interviewers gave sarcastic smiles. Some were snickering, and even among the other applicants, some were listening with a bewildered look. Amid all this, only President Finn said, "Thank you for your honesty, Elias. It's been a while since I've met a young man like you. I'd like to know more about you." The interviewers were taken aback. Even now, I laugh when I think back to that moment. A few days later, I received a job offer. My family was delighted when they got the news, and my mother even made a special meal to celebrate. They even bought me a suit, the cheapest one, thinking I might need it someday. I still cherish it. I didn't want to be looked down on for just being a middle school graduate, so I kept my hair short and dark and removed the earring I used to wear. My brothers also gave me a charm they made out of origami.
Good luck with your work.
They wrote in clumsy letters. You could tell they tried folding it several times, but that charm, earnestly crafted by my brothers, felt more protective than any other. I carry it with me everywhere I go, cherishing it to this day. And so, the first day of my new job came. I dressed up in the suit my parents bought for me and headed to the company's head office. That day was a full day of recreational activities at the headquarters, and I tried to engage as many of my colleagues and seniors as possible so they would remember me. The very next day, I was sent to a job site. I remember standing at the construction site for the first time, feeling motivated and determined to do my best for my family. But for me, who had never even had a part-time job before, every day was like hell. The hierarchical structure was strict, and being the most inexperienced new guy, I was constantly scolded by my seniors. There was a lot to learn, and I often made mistakes, like dropping pieces of wood. When I got home, I still had to take care of my siblings and do household chores without any rest. I was so exhausted that sometimes I fell asleep while putting my siblings to bed. When I woke up in a panic, I would say to my mother, "Sorry, I fell asleep." She would apologize back, saying,
I'm sorry you're always helping out even though you're working hard.
I would laugh and reply, "Don't apologize. You and Dad are working so hard too." Seeing her relieved, she'd say,
You've always been a son I'm proud of.
it felt strange but very rewarding. Among the people who started at the same time as me, some had more experience, but they left one by one, unable to bear the hardships of the job. In the end, I was the only one left. People like him will quit soon too. I heard like that whispers around me, but I've always been competitive and confident in my physical strength, so I stuck with it and learned from my seniors. I spent my breaks asking them how to become as competent as they are. At first, they were dismissive, but as time went on, more and more of them started giving me advice, and eventually they began teaching me voluntarily. The job was very tough for me, but I guess it suited me because I gradually found it interesting. I got faster at it day by day. Seeing my progress, my seniors slowly started to accept me and even began to trust me with some aspects of a project. I don't mean to boast, but I even started to get good feedback from our clients. Regardless of the size of the job, I always made sure to work diligently and quickly. When clients came to the site, I would always greet them and explain the progress of the work. Emil, my boss from the main office, had told me, "There's no need for you to explain the progress of the work. That's our job." But I believed that we, who were actually on the ground, could convey the situation much better than the main office staff who only received information on paper. Indeed, many of my seniors and juniors who supported my thinking increased, and many started to imitate my way of doing things, which contributed to the improvement of the company's performance. There were even companies that specifically requested, "We would like Elias Company to handle our site." As a result, my reputation within the company improved. However, some people not find this amusing, and I was often spoken about behind my back and called impudent. Although it was very frustrating, I believed that I could prove them wrong with my results, so I continued to work in my own way regardless of what was said about me. A few years after joining the company, a major event happened when I was 19. Emil called me in while I was working as usual. It turned out that a major client who always favored us, SD Group, was looking for new business partners, and our company was mentioned as a candidate. They wanted to have someone from the job site present during the negotiations, which meant that I was the one chosen. I was very happy, thinking my work has been recognized. I asked Emil, "Please let me attend." But it seemed that Emil was embarrassed to have a junior high school graduate like me present. He even said, "It's disrespectful to the other party to have a junior high school graduate attend." I was very angry to still be belittled for my education, but I saw this as a golden opportunity to prove myself within the company. I strongly asked Emil to let me attend the negotiation, perhaps moved by my passion. Emil said, "All right, it can't be helped, but if you're late, you're fired," and left with a rather immature parting shot. From then on, I started brainstorming about how to make the business meeting successful. I was a bit nervous since I hadn't had this kind of experience before, but I worked out a plan while discussing it with my seniors. The night before the meeting, I had trouble falling asleep. Feeling as excited as before a school trip, I finally managed to fall asleep. Then, the day of the business meeting came. I left the house in a suit, which I hadn't worn since my first day at work. Usually, I drove to work or the construction site, but that day, I was told to take the train to the client's office. I rushed to the train station. I hadn't taken a train in years, and as I headed to the ticket office, feeling nostalgic about my old local station, I noticed a woman. She was rubbing her large belly and seemed to be in some discomfort. Without thinking, I called out to her, "Are you okay, ma'am?" She replied.
No, my stomach hurts a bit. I think it will settle down if I rub it a bit.
She pointed to a nearby bench, and I helped her to sit down on it.
I'm fine now.
She said, but her face was getting pale, and she finally bent over in pain. "You don't look okay at all. Should I call an ambulance?" I asked, but she seemed to be in such severe pain that she couldn't answer, and her breathing became ragged. At that moment, I remembered a time from my past. My mother was pregnant with my youngest sister, and she was in a similar situation when she had a threatened miscarriage. I thought a taxi would be quicker than an ambulance. So I hailed a taxi that was nearby and said, "Excuse me, this lady seems to be in a dangerous condition. Could you take us to the hospital?" The driver replied, "I can take her, but you're coming with us, right?" I hesitated. "Well, I have work to do." The driver retorted, "She's in a dangerous state, right? If something happens in the car, I can't handle it alone." I thought, that's true, but I have an important business meeting. Yet I couldn't leave the woman alone in the taxi, so I said, "All right, I'll come along. Please take care of the woman." I carefully helped the woman into the taxi along with the driver. The woman, with a voice on the verge of crying, kept saying,
I'm sorry.
"Don't worry about it. Do you have your husband's number or the number of a hospital you usually go to?" I asked her. First, I contacted the hospital, And then I called the woman's husband. The husband, who had a calm voice, said after hearing about the situation,
I understand. I'll rush to the hospital.
and hung up. Then I contacted SD Group and told them about the business meeting today and that I had to take a pregnant woman to the hospital. I asked if they could postpone the meeting as I didn't think it would take too much time. The chairman, Mateo, said in a kind voice, "That must be tough. You should take your time and come. I'll just chat with your boss in the meantime," and hung up the phone. After that, I called Emil, who was supposed to attend the business meeting with me. When I explained the situation to Emil, who picked up the phone with an annoyed tone, he yelled at me loudly. "You have no idea how important this person is." He even said, "Get here right now." I could only tell him that I wouldn't be able to do that, but would get there as soon as possible. Emil started to say something, but I hung up the phone without listening. On the way to the hospital, the pregnant woman apologized to me over and over again. I tried to make her feel better by saying, "Really, don't worry about it. You know, my mother was in a similar situation when she was pregnant with my little sister. If I were to leave someone like you and go to work, my mom and sister would call me inhuman." After hearing this, the pregnant lady said,
Thanks to you, the pain has lessened a bit. Maybe my baby feels reassured by your kindness.
her smile made me feel a little relieved. Before long, we reached the hospital, and the pregnant woman was quickly wheeled inside. Soon after, a man who appeared to be her husband came from behind and said to me,
Are you the one who helped my wife?
I responded, "Yes, but you should hurry to your wife's side." When he asked for my contact information or business card, I handed him one. He bowed his head several times before disappearing into the hospital. The taxi driver also showed a relieved expression, and I asked him to drop me off at the nearest train station. I arrived at the company for the negotiation about an hour late. When I told the receptionist that I was there for the negotiation, she said,
The chairman who was supposed to join us today had to leave due to an urgent matter. There's a chance he won't be back today.
Upon hearing this, my mind went blank. I mean, he said he would wait when I called. As I stood confused, I was pulled from behind and led out of the building. Emil, who had been pulling my arm and whose face was red, was standing there. He yelled at me without caring about the surrounding eyes. "What have you done?" When I arrived first, they said they had to cancel the negotiation due to an urgent matter. "This is all your fault." I was taken aback by his strong rebuke and sank to the ground. "What? Really?" But when I called Chairman Mateo, he said he would wait and chat with you. Before I could finish, Emil interrupted. "Chat, ho? Remember what I told you, that you're fired if you're late? Keep that in mind." With that, Emil disappeared from my sight. I don't know how long it took. I couldn't move from my spot and was in a daze until an older woman asked me,
Are you okay?
I don't remember much of what happened after that. I went to the head office to report the situation, but all the looks I received were cold. I felt dismissed when I was told that the president was out for the day. Afterward, I went to the site I was in charge of, but I couldn't muster any strength. Encouraged by my seniors and juniors, I went home that day. Even after that, all I could think was, all my hard work has gone down the drain. It's over now. I could barely swallow any food. A few days later, Emil called me. "The president wants to see you. Come to the head office right away," he said. I thought, surely I was going to be fired. With that in mind, I headed to the head office with heavy steps. I entered the building feeling numb. Emil, who looked annoyed, was also there and led me to the president's office. I knocked timidly on the door and entered the room with Emil. As soon as I entered the president's office, I said, "I'm truly sorry for what happened," and bowed deeply. From President Finn, I heard, "I've heard the story. Lift your head." But I couldn't lift my head. Then I heard a different voice say,
Mr. Elias, please lift your head.
Surprised, I looked up to see the husband of the pregnant woman I had helped and an elderly gentleman with a calm face. "The other day, what happened?" I asked, flustered. He chuckled and said, "Please have a seat." As I was trying to grasp the situation, President Finn said, The pregnant woman you helped the other day is Chairman Mattio's daughter, and this is her husband." I blurted out, "What?" which made everyone laugh. Even Emil was laughing. Once the laughter subsided, Chairman Matteo said, "I'm sorry I went out even though I said I'd be waiting and chatting with Emil the other day. You see, my first grandchild. When my son contacted me, I left the company without thinking. I did wrong by Emil here, too." And he bowed to me. "Lift your head, please." So, I started to say, when the husband interrupted me.
Don't worry. The mother and child are both safe. Thanks to your immediate action, we were able to avoid any serious trouble. However, it seems they both could have been in a dangerous situation if there had been any delay.
His words relieved me greatly.
So, we wanted to discuss the other day. That's why we came to your company.
He continued, handing me his business card. The card read Sales Department. He told Chairman Matteo,
"I'm really glad I got Elias's business card that day. If he's such a wonderful person, he must do a fantastic job."
Chairman Matteo responded, "Indeed, we don't even need to discuss it. We look forward to a long-lasting relationship with you." And he reached out to shake my hand. The business deal was settled in a matter of minutes, and President Finn, with a big smile on his face, said, "We'll be giving you lots of work from now on. Our Elias does a great job," and shared a laugh with Emil. As we were leaving the room, Emil said to me, "I'm sorry for all the times I made fun of you. When I told the story to my wife when I got home, she wouldn't talk to me, saying she didn't think you were that kind of person. My daughter also told me she didn't want to talk to me for a while because I judge people by their educational backgrounds. I reflected on my actions. I did something truly inexcusable to you." And he bowed deeply to me. I couldn't believe Emil was bowing to me. As I was lost for words, he said, "I'm not asking you to let bygones be bygones, but I do want you to keep working hard for the company. I'm counting on you," and reached out to shake my hand. All my previous frustration vanished. I firmly shook Emil's outstretched hand and said, "Of course, I look forward to your continued guidance and encouragement." After the negotiation with Chairman Matteo, our company started receiving more and more work, and our performance increased even further. I was able to build a good relationship with Emil, and now we even go out for drinks together, which surprises everyone. I was recommended to transfer to the head office instead of the construction site, but I declined. So, I'm still at the construction site, sweating it out with my seniors and juniors, and living fulfilling days. My job is still on site, but one thing has changed. That is, I've started attending a night school to obtain a qualification as a civil engineering site manager. Emil encouraged me, saying, "If you're not coming to the headquarters, get a certification so you can rise higher on site," and even helped me gather materials for the school. It's been a long time since I studied at a desk in school, so I'm a bit nervous. But I'm determined to study hard, which isn't my strong suit, and pass the exam in one shot for my family who supports me. President Finn, Emil, my seniors, and juniors who have expectations of me. I want to make them all happy. I will continue to work diligently based on my convictions.